Puckett with Jeff.
So do you guys know each other, Jim, Jeff?
Jim, I've never met face to face, but
Hi, Jeff.
I grew up watching Jim. Obviously.
Oh no! Don't even say that. Oh my God! There I go, aging again.
I'm 52, so yeah.
Jim, at least he didn't say his father grew up watching you.
Oh, I've had that happen too.
No.
I used to look forward to that show like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, that was fun. Back in the day, we were the only one around doing it. So
yeah,
that was.
I learned a lot from it. So
the old USA Network.
Yeah.
You learned a lot what to do and what not to do.
Yeah. Don't bet every game. Be selective.
You learned what to do before the fact, what not to do after the fact.
Quality over quantity.
Yep.
Where are you at, Jeff? Where do you live?
I'm in California, Southern California.
Oh, whereabouts?
Laguna Niguel.
Ah, nice. Very nice.
Nice area there. Did you get hit with those fires at all, or were you close?
It was like 60 miles north of me, yeah.
Oh,
okay, thought so.
Yeah.
Pretty ugly stuff.
That was scary, yeah.
I was just down in, I went to the Montage, the beautiful hotel down there, and it's beautiful. We'd spent a couple days down there. It's gorgeous, but those fires are ugly.
I used to live in the Palisades in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the house that I lived in burned down.
No shit.
Yeah, it did.
Wow.
So,
good timing.
Really
now I hear
timing.
what insurance companies just been permission to raise rates or something like 17% or something.
Yeah, they're having trouble getting. I mean, it was just the perfect storm. We had no rain for like 2 months.
No.
And then it was 80-mile-an-hour winds, and it was like 85 degrees up there.
That's why we're getting so many people moving here to Vegas.
Yeah, and a lot of people are moving to Texas as well.
That's
the taxes in California are ridiculous. Yeah, one day I'll end up in Vegas for sure.
All right, let's get the show on the road. We got a lot to cover.
Two good things about
Andy. You got to leave early,
Nevada.
so what?
Two great things about Vegas compared to California. I mean, there are many things in Nevada.
Oh, there's a lot of
lower
things.
gas prices, no personal income tax.
And I can walk right into a casino and make my bets instead of having to do it overseas because California still doesn't have legalized gambling, which is just ridiculous.
What's your personal taxes? What, 13% there?
It's I think it's higher than it's like 15 to 18%. It's ridiculous.
On your income is 18? No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No,
nobody's moving to California, Jim.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
About the only taxes higher than that are playing the exotics and racing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get going. We have a lot to cover here, and we're going to start off with introducing our newest handicapper here, playbooksports.com, Jeff Hochman. Jeff, thanks for doing this. We're going to talk some Preakness.
Thanks for having me, Greg. It's going to be fun. Preakness 150. Always excited to break down horse racing with you guys. And I've been a big fan of the show for a long, long time. So, let's get this party started.
Yeah, let's do it. And don't forget, we have our live Preakness show. That's going to be at 7 o'clock tonight. John Hardoon, of course, from the Ragas and Sheets is going to join me. So we're going to also handicap the Black Eyed Susan. But let's get into the Preakness here with you, Jeff. And why don't I let you go through the field? Matter of fact, I'm going to pop up on the screen the entries for the race so everybody can they can join along and follow you. So let's go ahead in race order, starting with number 1, Goal Oriented, who is actually going off morning line at a little low number, 6-1 for a horse that's only had 2 races and hasn't raced in anything else other than a maiden and an optional claimer so far.
Yeah, seems like an underlay to me. And with Baffert-Pratt combination, he's going to take some money.
That's why it's 6-1. Yeah.
6-1. Yeah. I mean, 2 for 2. He's making a significant jump up in class. He did earn a 109 Equibase speed figure in that allowance win on a sloppy track. Remember, it was on the Kentucky Derby undercard. So it's a short turnaround for him, 14 days. It's a concern. He's also going to race without Lasix for the first time.
That's right.
And additionally, check this out. Since 1971, only 5 horses have won the Preakness without racing as a 2-year-old. The last to do it was Justify in 2018. And actually, the year before that, Cloud Computing did it in 2017. So he's up against it. Maybe use him underneath, maybe 4th, 5th. But I don't like this horse in this spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. By the way, if you guys, as we go through the field, if you want to just jump on in before I move on to the next horses. So let's go with number 2. And this is the morning line favorite as well. It should be Journalism, the 8-5 shot. No excuses in the Derby. It was a really great race, actually, to see the 2 top horses battle it out down the stretch, mano a mano. And yet Journalism wasn't able to get it done. But there's no sovereignty in this field, and Journalism is definitely the horse to beat.
Yeah, he's the clear favorite, 8-5 morning line. You'll probably get closer to 6-5, maybe even money. And he had his four race win streak interrupted by sovereignty in the Derby. He is the class of the field. Pimlico's shorter stretch and tighter turns may better suit his running style, and he's going to be closer to the pace with only 8 other horses. Bred by Curlin, he's never finished out of the money in 6 lifetime starts, but it's going to be a stiff challenge with just 14 days of rest. So I'm going to use him underneath, but he's not my top choice.
Okay. Yeah, well, you're not going to be able to make much money, but hey, bottom line is if he's the horse to pick, you pick him no matter what the odds are. But I'm very interested to find out which way you're going to go, because there are a couple horses I like here as well. Let's go with the 3 American Promise. This is a D. Wayne Lucas horse. And of course, not a surprise that Lucas is running this horse in the Preakness. He just throws his horses out there, just beats him to death, race after race. And he was able to get that big win that got him into the Derby, but had nothing in the Derby. So what do you think now that he's 15-1? Because really, if you look at it, that 29 sheet number he ran is not surprising, considering he had a 5-point new top in the win that got him to the Derby. So the bounce was inevitable. So now it's the second race after the bounce, which, at 15-1, it's D. Wayne Lucas. You can't count him out for maybe to get into the exotics.
I don't like this horse at all. I mean, 15-1, I think he's a candidate to come in last. This is going to be his 11th race in less than 10 months. He needs
Incredible.
a long vacation to rest and recharge on a beach somewhere. It's a hard pass for me.
Now you've got the 4 Heart of Honor. We haven't seen this horse in the USA of yet. So he comes over from Maidan. And of course, we've seen those races a few times a year. And unless you're, of course, a diehard fan and love racing over there. Anyway, what do you think about this import?
Don't like him. His speed figures are slower compared to the rest of the field. The competition overseas, not what he's going to face in America here. And his sire is Honor AP. Honor AP has produced just 6 wins from 83 starts across 32 thoroughbreds, and Japanese horses are winless in all Triple Crown races. I'm passing on Heart of Honor.
So that includes Heart of Honor's 2 wins?
Heart of Honor.
You said 6 wins. So he's got 6 wins. This is one of his offspring.
Well, yeah, Honor AP. Yeah. Right. 6. So yeah. That's
so
correct.
he's got 2 of the 6 wins. Wow.
2 of the 6 wins. That's a very good. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Pay Billy is a 20-1 shot. Not that the sheet numbers that I see here are all that bad. They're ranging from 10 to 14, but it's a 20-1 shot with 4 wins out of 8.
He's finished in the money in 6 of 8 career starts, so you really can't knock anything he's done. He's yet to face top-level competition. He's going to have to raise his game to compete against this field's class and speed. The Preakness will mark Mike Gorham's first appearance in a Triple Crown race. But the distance may not suit Pay Billy, and this race will be his 9th race in just over 9 months. So I'm passing on Pay Billy.
The 6 is River Thames, and River Thames was one of those horses that we really felt had a good chance to be a Derby contender. He finished 2nd in the Fountain of Youth, and he finished 3rd in the Bluegrass, but he had a couple of pretty decent numbers. He had an 8 in the Fountain of Youth, bounced a little bit in that Bluegrass race to a 10. Now he's got an extra couple of weeks off to compete against Journalism. So what do you think about Pletcher, Irad Ortiz Jr., and River Thames?
Well, I love his connections, obviously. He's another horse that's unraced as a 2-year-old, and he's also bred in New York. Those horses, New York breds, have won just 3 Preaknesses. The last to do it was Funnyside in 2003. Notably, post position 6, that's a magical post in the Preakness. Post number 6 has produced 17 Preakness winners. I wouldn't blindly bet this horse just because he's in post 6. But if you like this horse, you can add that data point to your handicap. I'm really on the fence with this horse, Greg. I think his preferred distance may be 1 mile, but I am going to use him underneath.
Next up is Sandman, who John and I agreed was ridiculously priced in the Kentucky Derby. I think he went off at 5-1. I believe it might have been the second choice, right, Jeff? I don't know where all that was coming from. Even though John did point out that, what was it, that promo or something that was going on where people were betting a social media account who had millions of followers and they were all money on the horse. So I guess that explains it. But anyway, it's a good horse. No question about it. It's a closer, deep closer, always going to be dangerous. But again, short price at 4-1.
Short price at 4-1. Yeah, I had the same notes as John did. That influencer was really touting this horse, and it drove his odds down. The Arkansas Derby winner, he had a 104 Equibase speed figure. He enters this race, solid grade 1 winner, 3 starts back, 3rd in the Rebel. He finished 2nd in the Southwest Stakes. Cole Battle and Matticat Road finished ahead of Sandman in the Rebel Stakes. Well, Cole Battle was overmatched in the Derby, and Matticat Road finished 2nd in the Pat Day Mile. The distance is not going to be an issue for him. He's sired by Tappet. He can run all day. And he's never run 2 subpar races back-to-back, but he must do so now after 14 days of rest. Also, regular rider Jose Ortiz jumped ship to ride Clever Again, although you can't go wrong with Johnny V. I still think 4-1 is a huge underlay on this horse.
The last 2, speaking of Clever Again, the 8 is a low 5-1, but you have Asmussen and Ortiz, as you mentioned. And this horse just keeps getting better over 3 races. He's a little bit step up than the 1 because he's got that 3rd race. And the 3rd race, was a stakes race, where he went wire to wire. And that one, he went wire to wire the race before that, running a 12 and then an 8. So he keeps getting better. What do you think about Clever Again at 5-1?
He's my top choice. I love this horse. Sired by American Pharoah, obviously winner of the Triple Crown. He had a very sharp workout the other day in 1:04. Asmussen believes that this colt's natural cruising speed fits the Pimlico's racetrack to a T, and I agree. And I've watched all 3 of his races, and I'm just blown away by how this horse is traveling. And, he's been working lights out. You get Jose Ortiz choosing Clever Again over Sandman. And these jockeys know the horse is under them. Yeah. Remember a couple weeks ago when Antonio Fresu jumped ship on a horse, that horse won easily. Clever Again possesses the fastest late pace speed figure, and he also figures to be on or near the lead. So this horse I love. I know a lot of people love it as well. Hopefully we'll get 5-1, but 7-2 probably is more in the realm of what we're going to get.
And then the final horse is actually, I think, a pretty nice long shot play, and that's Gosger. You're getting 20-1. You got Saez and Walsh. He's won 2 straight, including the Lexington. So that was when he ran at 11. He keeps getting better on the sheet numbers. He's got the extra week off. And I think at 20-1, this is a dangerous, exotic play that might be able to make some money if you're going with a couple of favorites.
Couldn't agree more. He's definitely using him underneath. He has improving speed figures in all 3 career starts, from an 80 in his maiden race to a 96 in the Lexington. I use Equibase for my speed figures. He's bred by Nyquist. He's going to have to improve another 10 to 15 points if he wants to win, but he's eligible to do so in his 4th career start. His sire has produced horses better suited for races no longer than 1 mile and a 16th. This trainer-jockey combo has achieved a 33% win rate and finished in the money 52% of the time. I'm definitely using him underneath, and I'll give you my selections when you're ready.
Ready to go. What do you got for us, Jeff?
Let's play the number 8, Clever Again, win and place. $2 exacta, number 8, over the 2, Journalism, the 6, River Thames, and the 9 Gosker. And I'm feeling dangerous today, Greg. So let's go with $1 trifecta box, $24 cost. Number 2, Journalism. Number 6, River Thames. Number 8, Clever Again. And number 9, Gosker. I am fading all the horses coming back on 14 days rest.
Probably the way to go. Jeff, appreciate it. It was great to have you on here finally.
Jeff, I have one question for you on your exacta. Do you ever consider, or does it depend on really how much you like the horse's chances of, like the number 8, doing him on top and on bottom with the others?
Yeah, it costs a little more to box it.
Yeah.
You can come back and reverse it small. You can go 2, 6, 9 over the 8. Absolutely. I know John Hardoon is a big fan of that. So yeah, I would not argue with that strategy one bit. But I really think
you never know what happens in a race where one of the other contenders that you like maybe noses them out at the end. Although your justification for liking the 8 as much as you did makes an awful lot of sense, especially being on or near the lead and having great closing time.
Yeah, that's possible. And if Journalism runs third or out of the money, you're going to get a nice exacta.
The concern for Journalism, wouldn't it be that this distance suits him, considering where he was at this distance in the Derby before he got caught?
It does, but he's coming back on 14 days rest. I mean, people just ignore that. Horses are not bred to run every 2 weeks. And for the Triple Crown, 3 races in 5 weeks. I always look for new shooters in the Preakness. So, I mean,
do you have odds on that, Jeff? As far as statistically speaking, how often the winner comes from the Derby and how often they don't?
Well, I know the last 5 Preakness winners did not run in the Derby.
Okay.
So, yeah. So there's been like...
And, of course, like you said before, Justify being the last one, and he just happened to be a Triple Crown winner.
So. Well, I mean, he was a freak.
Special forward, yeah.
If you think Journalism is a freak of a horse, like past Triple Crown winners, then yeah. But, he had trouble in the Derby. He couldn't get past Sovereignty. I think he's going to be second or third, but not on top. Not at that short of a price.
The price is the issue, yeah.
Yeah, the price. You got to look for value in horse racing.
Yeah, the statistic that I would like to know is the percentage of Kentucky Derby horses who end up also running in the Preakness, and what's their history? Do they finish in the back of the pack in the Preakness, or do some of them finish second, third, fourth, and the others finish back? In other words, is it statistically significant about going against or not going on a horse in the Derby, or is it just not a large enough sample size to conclude?
I don't know the exact stat on that. No. John Hardoon will probably know when Greg and John do their live show for the Preakness preview, but it's just a tall task for horses to run 14 days apart in a high stakes race like this when they're facing, pretty good competition. I mean, this is a salty field.
How many of the horses in the Preakness are starting, let's say, on less than 4 weeks of rest, if any?
I don't have that offhand. I couldn't even guess. I know Clever Again is coming in fresh.
Which ones are fully rested? Because those horses generally they race once a month.
The ones that are fully rested would be the 4. Let's see. I'd probably say the 6.
Right. 9.
And then the 8. And yeah, I wouldn't even put the 9 in there because you only had an extra week, but you could put the 9 in there.
Yeah. So he didn't race on Derby Day, so
yeah. So it's not like it's a lot. There's probably more than half of the field is coming in, but only a few of them raced in the Derby though, and had only 2 weeks rest. And that's
I would also say if you can find props that fade American Promise, like some sports books will have horse matchups.
Yeah.
Fade American Promise. This horse is going to be spent. And he finished like 17th in the Derby, and that was his 10th race in just under 10 months. Well, now he's running 11 races in just under 10 months. He needs a break.
Yeah, I'm sure you could find it out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Matchup.
Maybe across the board, that's the best bet. You just bet all the other horses over him, you're probably going to win 70% of them.
Yeah, he's going to be much higher than 15-1 for sure.
All right, Jeff. So we look forward to also not only seeing you here back on this program, but we'll definitely have you on. I know for the 2025-26 hockey season, we're looking forward to that. But we're going to talk, of course, football, more horse racing, and so on. And we'll have a link in the description so you can check out how to find Jeff's content over at playbooksports.com. Jeff, appreciate your time. And again, look forward to doing this again.
Oh, thanks, Greg. It's been fun. I really appreciate you having me. And everybody, don't forget, check out Greg and John on their Preakness show. It's a can't miss show. John Hardoon, he's one of the smartest horse race handicappers in America.
Yep, we're lucky to have him. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Take care.
All right, Jeff Hochman, playbooksports.com. Of course, Mark has a great stable.
Nicely put in there. Very nice stable
of handicappers over on the website, and we'll let you know how you can just click, boom, you see Jeff, and go from there. Okay, so that's our Preakness coverage. If you want more of it, as Jeff said, John and I will be live tonight at 7:00. But now we're gonna talk some football. How about that? Talking football. Let me go ahead and put our little football background there. We haven't seen our football background in a little sofa with the football and all. So that gets us back in the mood. And we figured this would be a good time to do it because of the fact that we are going to talk more football when Mark gets back, because when Mark returns, he will have completed all of his work for his publication, his NFL college football publication for the 2025 season. And we're obviously going to tout that, and we're going to talk more about that with Mark when he returns sometime in June. We don't know when, Jim. I get the feeling, Jim. I think you're going to be on. I think you're going to be right here with me, simpatico. When Mark says it'll either be the second week, the third week, or the fourth week, I'm going to say that means he's coming back on the fourth week.
I'm saying it's the fifth week.
The fifth
I
week.
was going to go with Jim on that. You always have to build in a little bit extra that things don't go according to. Well, I guess for this industry, according to Hoyle.
Almost
not
no
even
one,
sure there's 5 weeks in
No
June.
one in this world ever reaches. They're always late to the dance, the dinner.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. We try to overestimate how fast we are, and we try hard, but we don't get there.
Life gets in the way. Unexpected developments.
It does.
Like my check engine light coming on this morning.
Oh, that's never
Just
nice.
gets in the way.
Yeah, never nice.
Hopefully
Okay.
It's a loose gas cap.
So, yeah, hopefully. So let's go ahead, and since today's a big day in the NFL, you have the schedule release. I think it's so funny. Hey, that's nice. We'll find out when they're going to play the matchups, primetime games, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of nice. I'm looking forward to it. And then the last couple of days in social media and getting in your inbox, like since Sunday, they're starting to bleed out. There's some rumors about this is going to be the games that are going to be on. And then Monday, the same thing. It's like, is this really, are we that desperate to find out that we need to get rumors or leaks for the schedule of the NFL? I know it's fun, but is it that? I mean, I hope people have better things to do.
Some people say yes. Look, sportsbook directors are trying to get some idea of slotting when these games are going to play, because you can be sure tomorrow at some point they're going to have the week one lines out at many of the major sports books. They'll probably start putting together by the weekend. You'll have games of the year. You'll have the primetime games. They want to get the more time that you have action at your window, the more profit you're going to make, especially because at this point, as far as whatever the point spreads are, so many of them are 50-50 because we don't even know what the opening day rosters are going to be, much less the starting lineups.
Okay, so what we're going to do, since we have the NFL schedule coming out tonight at 8:00, we're recording this on Wednesday, we decided we're going to do an early observation as far as, first of all, the three best and worst teams that we believe have had as far as their off seasons. And then we're going to give our way, way, way too early NFL playoff predictions, just the teams. That's it. Who we believe will make the NFL playoffs in both the AFC and the NFC. So let's start.
By the way, I'm going to say I've prepared a little bit differently for this because I'm going to sort of like weave the two together. I'm going to go. And we can do it however order you like. I've got the 14 playoff teams that I like, but instead of coming up with the 3 best and worst off-season moves, I'm going to talk about a team in each division that I expect to be improved or weakened from last year, based upon where they stand now.
All right.
And reasons why.
Well, I wish I would have known this, so I could have formatted this differently.
No.
You're just going to throw this on me at this point in time, but we can work. We can adjust. Jim, are you
Andrew
doing?
said he was going to sabotage you this
That's
morning.
okay. I'm used to it. Are you okay with the 3 top best and worst?
I'm going to be honest with you.
No. Wait. What did I say in the email?
By me?
No, you didn't read the email.
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, read the email.
I read the email and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so let's just
we're not talking about is the case.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and go through what we believe. We're going to do this with Andy. Let's go ahead. Let's do the. Would you rather us go through the 14 teams, Andy, or would you rather us just go division by division and then you can pick out whether or not those teams are in your playoffs?
We could do it that way, or I could mention by division the teams from that division that I have in the playoffs, and then the one team.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. We get 8 teams that.
Let's do that.
Evaluated.
Even though I didn't read the email, I can jump in and do this. I do.
Of course. Well, that's not. No. Just
the thing was, I
I know. We know.
I was just really busy with basketball.
No, it has nothing to. You're actually doing. No, you're no. It's not a. You're no. You're
nah.
no.
He's yelling at me again, Andy.
No, Jim. If you read it, you'll understand.
I know what you mean now.
If you read it, you'll understand, Jim.
All right.
So, all right. So let's go ahead. Let's start with Jim.
Yes.
AFC East. Who do you think is making the playoffs out of the AFC East?
Buffalo wins it going away.
Okay. You think that any of the other teams are playoff caliber?
Definitely not be the Jets. I'm real questionable on Miami. No.
Okay.
That's it.
And do you think out of that division, do you think any of those teams are you, again, this goes to the top 3 best worst. Do you think any of them have, made any impact on you so far this offseason, good or bad?
I'm kind of neutral with that, but I think Buffalo might be the best team to make the playoff,
okay. Let's go with that.
The championship game in the NFC.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I'm going to pop the Arled's depth charts as we go through it. So yeah, you take a look at Buffalo and go ahead, Andy. I want you to chime in with the AFC East.
Okay. I also have Buffalo winning that division. I don't know how easy it'll be because I do think the gap may have closed a little bit. Maybe the gap was a little bit wider than expected last year between Buffalo and Miami because of some of Miami's issues. But I actually have the Jets making the playoffs this year. I like what they've done in the offseason. I like what Aaron Glenn has done with his coaching staff. I think you've got rid of the drama that we had the last 2 years with Aaron Rodgers. I like the quarterback situation this year with Justin Fields, who I felt never really got the chance in Chicago. He did win early with Pittsburgh, and then they benched him simply because Wilson was ready to play as opposed to a lack of performance on the part of Fields. So I think that Fields is going to make further progress. Now he's in, his 5th season, I believe. So I think they're going to do enough for the Jets. As far as the division, the team in the division that I think did either the best or worst during the offseason, I like just about everything the Patriots did. It may not show up on the scoreboard because they had so much in the way of holes to fill. I like Drake May. I like what we saw of him when he got to play, and now they've beefed up some of the protection around him, giving him some good receivers. I'm not going to rule out their chances of making a wild card, but I think that one of the things that we like to talk about, ATS records, I would say New England may have one of the better ATS records, and I'm going to say over the first half of the season, because the lines makers will probably catch up after about a month or so. And instead of getting +6 on the Patriots around Thanksgiving, you might only be getting +4 or 4.5, let's say.
There's a limit on how many people can, or how many teams can make the playoffs. And I feel like there's the other divisions offer more, especially, I just don't see these bottom feeders in the East being able to do much.
See, I don't think the Jets are going to be a bottom feeder. I've got them finishing 2nd in the division because I still like a lot of their defense. I like their running game. And I think with Fields, who will add to the running game, I think they've made some good additions, and I like Aaron Glenn and what he's done throughout his career, not just as a player, but also as a coach. And we'll talk about that when we get to the NFC North.
Yeah, I think that what it's going to help any of these AFC teams that are trying to get into the playoffs, they haven't been there for a little bit, like the Jets or the Patriots, is that the AFC South is just so bad that
Totally.
that's going to, okay, we know only one team's coming out of there more than likely. And then you also have to wonder about, well, are the Raiders really going to be a contender now? And if not, then that helps. Plus, in the North, we know how competitive it is, but we don't know what we're getting out of Cleveland, Cincinnati, or even Pittsburgh. So I think there is room. I think, and I think every year in the AFC and the NFC, I think there's always room for at least one team to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That really nobody thought would make the playoffs when the season began. It just happened.
I've
They don't have to be 11 or 12 wins either.
That's always the case. Yeah.
I've got two teams, as a matter of fact, from last year who made the playoffs that I don't expect to make the playoffs this year.
Okay.
So
let's
there's always there's usually about a 50 to 67% changeover in other words, when there used to be 12 teams in the playoffs rather than 14, you would have maybe between 6 and 8 making them, which means that you'd have between 6 of 8 of the teams from the previous season not making them. Sometimes it's division winners, often it's wild cards.
Yeah, what's interesting, Andy, is that you and I, when we were talking a couple of years ago about the Bears' decision on keeping Fields or going with Caleb in the draft, and we were both kind of adamant that the Bears should give Fields another shot, and that he deserved it. He was starting to kind of look a little bit better. He didn't have any talent around him, and if they use that pick to surround him with more talent, that would be the way to go, especially because, just not believing also all that much in Caleb Williams. And so for us as, say, Jet fans to be able to get Justin Williams, to get Justin Fields, I think is, I think that's pretty cool. Because
the problem is he's been around a while under a number of coaches, and he just hasn't delivered on the accuracy of his passes. We all know he's a physical athlete. He can do a lot. There's no question about that. But his accuracy is off. And that is something, after all these years in the league, unless he's had the absolute worst quarterback coaching in the world.
Well, that's it. He's had so many coaches with different systems that he didn't really get a chance to say, okay, carry over from one year to the next, other than maybe his rookie year into his second year, to see what adjustments needed to be made. I think he's going to have a lot more talent around him, even though obviously he's going to a new coach again.
Well, you can't really look at the Bears, because the Bears gave him no protection.
Yep.
They didn't give him any running game. He was running around for his life. And that's why he had did he have like 1,000 yards rushing his second year, I believe?
I believe
so.
The good thing is he's going to play the Patriots twice. He's going to play Miami twice. He might win those. They might win those 4 games.
Well, again, I think that I kind of agree with Andy that, especially because he's a young kid. I don't think he's ever going to be, say, Lamar Jackson. That's the one quarterback he'll probably remind people of because of his ability to run the football. But still, I don't think he has to be. Look at what Lamar Jackson's done in the postseason. Nothing. I don't want him to be Lamar Jackson. I just want him to be whoever he is. And again, if he's got a running game and he's got a best offensive line on paper he's ever had, and don't forget, he actually improved a little bit last year in Pittsburgh when he had a better team around him.
I think we're going to have to speed this up a little bit if we're going to cover all the 8 divisions. I got to get running in a little bit also.
Well, sure. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and go to the North. Jim, who do you like?
AFC North?
Yes.
Baltimore.
And that's an easy one. What do you think about Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland?
I think Cleveland should lose all their franchises for every sport for the next 100 years after what they just did in basketball. So I'm taking all their teams away from them. That they don't exist anymore.
Okay.
I'll come back. I'll come back with not Pittsburgh. I'm not going there. Cincinnati is notoriously cheap when it comes to investing in things, but they have a fantastic offense potential. Now, can they pick up the defense, which was horrible last year? That would be the number 2 team, but I'm not real high on it.
Andy?
I've got Baltimore winning the division as well. I do have Cincinnati making the playoffs this year. I know they haven't made them the last couple of years, but I do expect them to make this year. Of course, now we have the defensive lineman, who is it, Hendrickson, saying he's not going to play. That'll be worked out. He's seen his teammates get contract extensions, etc. And Cincinnati also has to learn to play in the month of September. They've been horrible starting the season the last few years under their current coach, but the talent is there for them to make the playoffs after missing it the last couple of years. They're not that far removed from a Super Bowl. The team that I think, as far as the offseason goes and continues to go, that's going to be, instead of a pleasant surprise, maybe not a surprising disappointment, because I think a lot of people are on this, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, right now they don't have a settled quarterback situation, and we don't know if Aaron Rodgers, if he decides to play, will be the solution that the team needs. They did get rid of a problem with their wide receiver, but that means one more wide receiver they have to fill in for an unknown quarterback, or I don't know that Mason Rudolph is going to be the 17-game answer. So
Aaron Rodgers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And we don't know how that's going to work out if and when he signs.
Oh, it's got to work out.
Especially with a great receiver not being there anymore. So I think Pittsburgh, I think Mike Tomlin's record of not having a losing season in his career might end up this year. Maybe they'll be 8-9, 7-10, but I don't see them making the playoffs, and I think them underachieving. Well, underachieving compared to what we've seen, not necessarily what the roster suggests.
All right. I still think that this is a division that can go to anybody, except probably Cleveland. But the good news is for Cleveland Browns fans is that at least they're going back to running the offense that Kevin Stefanski excels at. Whatever they tried last year was ridiculous, and it showed, and that's why it was awful. Now they're going back to what made it work before, even when Flacco was here. But we have an interview that I just did with Fred Greetham, who covers the Browns here on the channel. You can check that out and find out even what we talked about regarding the quarterback room. Okay, let's move on to the AFC South. And again, with the South, it looks like Houston, right, Jim? I mean, do you think there's any team that has if you had to pick one team that you think might have the best chance of dethroning Houston if something happens, like let's say CJ Stroud gets injured and it's a disastrous season for Houston, and some team has to win the AFC South, who would it be?
Colts.
Okay. And would that be with their quarterback right now, or would that be with Daniel Jones taking over?
The Colts had what's that? I'm sorry.
Would that be with Richardson playing or Daniel Jones taking over?
I'm not in love with either one of them, but Richardson has the higher ceiling if he can get, well, first of all, he stay healthy. He's got to stop taking on linebackers like he's as big as strong as they are, so he can stay healthy. And then the accuracy of the passing, it's another accuracy issue. A lot of people thought he was overdrafted to begin with. Okay. I like him better. I like him better than Jones. Not in love with the team, but last year they were highly touted. A lot of people thought they would be there at the end. But I think Houston is the clear choice, with the other teams all potentially under 500.
Andy?
Yeah, I have Houston winning that division. I like a lot of what they've done, and a lot of it had to do with not making too much in the way of changes. Don't see any of the other teams making the playoffs. However, I think Jacksonville will be much improved. They've gotten the new regime in there. They've given some additional weapons to Trevor Lawrence. And so I could see Jacksonville finishing second in the division. Whether or not they can make a run at the playoffs as a wild card probably depends how they do against Indianapolis and Tennessee.
Yeah, I actually like what Tennessee did this offseason. They're another year away as long as Cam Ward becomes a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL, because they just had nothing talent-wise. But I think they did a really good job of improving their roster this offseason. So they were one of the teams that I think had one of the better offseasons, actually. So who knows? Maybe if they could, if everything goes their way and Cam Ward has a good year, maybe they can find a way to, second place, few games behind Houston, if all goes according to plan for the Texans. West, is it going to be the Chiefs again, Jim, or Are the
No.
Chiefs going to fall into the trap of Super Bowl losers?
Well, the Chiefs have had their run. I think Andy's had his run. Mahomes is definitely good. The offensive line, they've improved it. Kelsey's getting old. Andy Reid's getting old. Yeah, but there's some other teams in that division that are pretty tough. I mean, the Chargers are going to be tough. The Denver team's going to be tough. Well coached. A lot of good coaches in this division. I think Denver is going to win the division. I think the Chiefs will end up third. It's possible that you might get three teams out of this division in the playoffs.
Yeah, Andy, Denver definitely is on the right trajectory with their young quarterback and their head coach. And, of course, you only expect good things from Jim Harbaugh in year 2. Do you think it comes down to the Chargers in Denver like Jim believes, or you still believe in the Chiefs?
I still believe in the Chiefs. I think they've got one more run in them to win the division. I think the other teams are closing the gap, and I do have the Chargers. I had the Chargers making the playoffs last year because of Harbaugh and the quarterback and the running game and all that he likes to emphasize. And I think in year 2 they're going to be better, and I could see the Chargers closing the gap, maybe overtaking Kansas City, but until Mahomes starts showing significant signs, and we'll see what the roster looks like, I've got to go with Kansas City because I still do like the defense as well as what is surrounding Mahomes. I've got the Chargers finishing second, and I still like Denver, but I'm going to switch things around because I like what the Raiders have done, especially with bringing in Pete Carroll and Geno Smith at quarterback. So I think that they're going to improve, and they might for maybe one of the wild cards that I haven't. I've got the Jets, Cincinnati, and the Chargers with the 3 wild cards in the AFC. I think that Denver or the Raiders can challenge for one of those wild cards, and I think it's going to be Las Vegas, who had dominated the Broncos in recent years. Last year, Denver swept the season series. I don't see that happening this year. I still like Denver as a team. This could be a division where, let's say I have Denver finishing last. They could finish last with an 8-9 or 9-8 record. I'll say 8-9 because I think the Raiders probably, if they do finish in third, finish at 9-8.
Okay. Yeah. Very tough division. No question about it, especially if Geno and Genti lift this team up, which is very possible along with Pete Carroll coaching the team. All right. Now let's go to the NFC, the Super Bowl champs in the East, the Philadelphia Eagles. So Jim, you got the Eagles and you've got Washington. And we saw what Washington did last year. Has Washington caught up? Is it going to be a Washington division now, or will the Eagles reign supreme back-to-back?
With that superior offensive line that the Eagles had last year, I do not see them losing the division if they can maintain that offensive line. I mean, they have enough weapons, coaching, et cetera, et cetera. That offensive line is pretty brutal. Washington second, Dallas third.
Andy, what do you think about the Eagles and the Washington Commanders?
Well, Jim said it. I mean, Philadelphia's got so much going for it. They continue to do well in the draft, and they continue to make the right moves. It's a very nicely run organization. So I think they win the division, and I do think Washington will present a challenge. It was interestingly, the NFL decided that Philadelphia will open the season hosting Dallas rather than Washington. And I think the reason for that is because of what Washington showed in that playoff game against Philadelphia. They were afraid that you might see another whitewash. I'm not sure you won't, because I don't know that Dallas is going to be significantly more of a challenge than Washington was in that game. Maybe it won't be a 30-point blowout or whatever it ended up being. As far as Dallas and the Giants, I like what the Giants have done in the offseason as far as their draft and some of the acquisitions they made. So I have them being, let's say, a surprise team that could challenge for a wild card, or certainly I have them finishing ahead of Dallas.
I agree that I think it's been a good offseason for the Giants. They're a much better team now. They got, even though a veteran quarterback isn't everybody's favorite, it's still a major upgrade for that team. Their defensive front now looks very scary. So I agree. I think the Giants are going to be better. But yeah, and look, I don't know if whoever said that as a reason, I'm not buying it. There's no way anybody thinks, I mean, anybody up there, is that the decision that they're making for the Dallas over Washington because they're afraid of Washington getting blown out versus the Cowboys? I don't believe that. I'm sure there's another reason they're not saying, But I don't know. We'll find out. I don't even know. Usually,
well, the reason I would have felt that would be a great matchup. You got the up and coming Washington team with the second year quarterback going up against the Super Bowl champions in their own division and playing with what you have to call humiliating revenge from that playoff loss, that one-sided playoff loss. I thought that would have made for a very intriguing matchup, but I guess Dallas is Dallas, and I guess they didn't want to schedule the Super Bowl rematch because I believe Philly and Kansas City are slated to meet at some point during the season.
It could also be
Dallas is the most valuable franchise in the game. You got Jerry Jones. He has a lot to do with what happens in the league.
That's very true.
You know, he pulls a lot of strings. I mean, for example, we wouldn't have a team in Vegas if it wasn't for Jerry Jones pulling those strings.
Washington's two big moves were adding Deebo Samuel along with Terry McLaurin to that receiving game, and also Laramie Tunsil at left tackle is going to be a big upgrade there. So Washington's offense was deadly last year with their exciting rookie quarterback.
Yes.
And now they're going to be even more deadly.
They're very dangerous if they stay healthy. Yes.
Next up, the north of the NFC, and a couple of things here for me, Jim, and that is I actually think Detroit had one of the worst off seasons out of the teams in the NFL. Not the worst, but one of the worst. When you lose your two big coordinators, that is a major problem. It
was a couple of years ago when Philadelphia had that happen.
Yep. And they just did not add anybody.
Well, by the way, keep in mind when Philadelphia lost those coordinators, that I believe was the year they started like 10-1 and everything fell apart down the stretch, which is very unusual. You would have thought they would have struggled early.
That is true. They did not struggle early. That's correct.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think Detroit, their offseason, not impressed at all. I'll be speaking with Jeff Risdon, who covers the Lions for the Detroit Lions podcast right here on the network on Monday. So look out for that. And then also the Chicago Bears, I think this is an easy one for one of the best off seasons because they grabbed the OC from Detroit that everybody wanted. And he's done a great job of filling that offense, Jim, with a lot of different playmakers, an offensive line now that can protect Caleb Williams. The defense still has issues, but you can't fix everything in one off season. But I think Chicago has a lot to look forward to right now.
Well, Detroit last year, and people don't talk too much about this, but they had a lot of injuries going into the playoffs. So I'm going to knock that. I mean, they lost so many defensive people and a lot of, they just got really hurt at the wrong time, which we see in sports at the end of the season when these playoffs begin. And a lot of people get hurt, and then they get hurt through the season, and we get hurt at the end of the season when fatigue and injury sets in. So I'm not really downplaying that much, but I think it's a two-team league, Green Bay and Detroit. And I think you can flip a coin on it. The question there is, I know Detroit didn't have a great offseason, but if they weren't that bad to begin with, if they can get healthy, and I believe after the period of time that the season ended, they will be healthy. I think it's going to be a two-team race, and it's a coin flip between those two.
Andy, do you want to go ahead and take the rest of the teams because I know you got to run?
Well, yeah. Let me start with the NFC North. I have Green Bay winning that division. I like the quarterbacking. I like a lot of the things that they've started to do there. Love now his third year as being the full-time starter. So I like Green Bay to win that division. I like Chicago. I'll talk about Detroit. Detroit is the one team that I agree with, that they've lost so much, especially in the coaching with assistants and all that. And, of course, Ben Johnson is a huge loss, and they've got to compensate for that. So I think Detroit is the team that could struggle this year more than the other two, Chicago and Minnesota. I'm going to go with Chicago to finish second. You mentioned, Greg, a lot of the good things that they did, and I like the fact that, well, if you take a look at it, the quarterback for Chicago, Caleb Williams, well, he's not a rookie. The quarterback for Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy, effectively is a rookie. And I think that could be the difference. Yeah, that could be the difference. Now, I know they've got an experienced backup, but you still want to, you've invested so much in the rookie. I won't say you wasted a year, but you sat out a year, so it's basically the same thing. So I think they want to give him every opportunity to catch up. So I think Chicago, and again, looking for teams that didn't make the playoffs, but realistically have a chance to make the playoffs this year, I'm going to throw Chicago in there as one of the teams that will make a wild card. NFC South, I like Atlanta to win that division. I still think that's the best roster in the division, although I still have a lot of respect for what they do down in Tampa Bay. Team I think that had a decent offseason and could make some strides now that they don't have the quarterback issue that they had, the questions coming into last year. I like Carolina to show some improvement this year. They started to show things last year. And in the NFC West, I like the Rams to win the division. I like, they lost Cooper Kupp, but they've got some additions as well. I like McVay as coach. I like Stafford as quarterback. I like a lot of what they've been able to do the last few years. McVay has one of the better records in the NFL as a head coach since coming in 7 or 8 years ago. He's already got that Super Bowl situation as well. I think San Francisco will rebound, assuming they stay healthy, and Purdy turns out to be now an experienced quarterback who got a nice extension. I think the team that takes the biggest decline, Arizona's Arizona. They're nothing to get excited about, nothing that they're pathetic about. But I think Seattle's going to miss Pete Carroll, and they're basically in a rebuild situation over there, especially with a new starting quarterback after losing Geno Smith.
All right, Andy. Again, I know you got to get out of here, so we'll talk to you again next week. We'll have some NBA playoffs to talk about, Major League Baseball, the WNBA, and more. So you'll be back with Jim, I believe, tomorrow or Friday?
Tomorrow. We're doing
WNBA
tomorrow for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe the NBA, since there's only just a few.
Yeah,
there may be a few teams left after tonight.
We got to recap all these games that just taking place and look forward. Okay.
So I wish everybody good luck, and I'll speak with Jim in the morning.
Sounds good. Thanks, Andy.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
All right, that's Andy Iskoe. And let's get back now to the North. A couple of things on the North, Jim, that we were talking about. I mentioned that I think Detroit may have a little bit of a down season compared to last season. I think Chicago definitely be better. I don't think they'll be a second place team because I still think Detroit is a more talented team than that. But the Minnesota Vikings are the team I'm the most concerned with because of the fact that not only, and look, I'm a Michigan guy, and I think McCarthy is going to eventually be a good quarterback in the NFL. I just can't imagine it's going to happen that quickly. And if anything were to happen to J.J. McCarthy, Sam Howell was awful last year with Seattle. Awful. And he had a lot more bad than good when he was at Washington. So they've got some major quarterback issues if something happens with J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. So I just can't see them having the same type of season anywhere close to what they had last season that nobody counted on.
No, well, they have some weapons, obviously, but I don't believe they will either. I actually see either Minnesota or Chicago at the bottom of that. Most likely, it'll be Minnesota. I still have to see that Caleb is A, mature enough, B, learns how to not hold the ball so long. I don't care who your offensive coordinator is. If you have a mindset that is afraid more to fail than to succeed, and I see that in him, I don't know that he is capable of growing that much, at least in a short order, because he's got to be willing to let that ball go. I mean, he holds on to it forever. And I know the offensive coordinator, the coaching staff, everything's improved. No, but I think this is a two-team race. I think and believe me, I know Campbell makes a lot of strange decisions, but he has a team that 100% believes in him. And that's a big thing. And they are good. And they were good on offense and defense the entire year till they started to get hurt, unfortunately, at the end. Now, when I like Green Bay, but I have major question marks about their quarterback. There's times he just does not look good.
Yeah, he didn't make the transition we thought he was going to make last year.
And I do not know that he has another level on a consistent basis. Let me just put it that way. Yes, he hits those numbers occasionally, but when you need him, he does some things that I don't like. I like Goff better than him.
Yeah, this is a big year, no question, for Jordan Love. There's no more excuses at the end of this year. I'm willing to give him last year as an excuse. It's only a second year. You could have just sort of like a sophomore jinx type of year. I'm okay with that. But you have to now take that next step this year. and be the guy that they're paying all that money to. So
they got a good head coach. They got a good offense. I mean, they're a good team.
Yeah,
no
they're a good
question
team
about it.
Yeah.
But he has some flaws that make me just wonder sometimes. I don't see it.
And there's still a lot of wonder whether or not Jair Alexander is going to get traded. Their top corner, who has a lot of ups and downs over the past couple of years. So still hasn't been traded. So maybe Alexander will hang on, but that's something to keep an eye on for Green Bay in the North. Meanwhile, in the South, I've done it for 2 straight years, and I'm going to do it for a 3rd straight year. And I'm going to keep picking Tampa Bay until they don't win. Everybody keeps trying to dethrone Tampa Bay in predictions all over the place. And I just keep sticking with them, and they keep making me look good. So I have no problem sticking with the team that offensively looks like it's going to be even better than they've ever been when they spent their 1st-round pick on a wide receiver when they still already have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and the rookie Jalen McMillan, who had, I think, 7 touchdowns last year. That is one hell of a wide receiver room, along with Bucky Irving and Rashad White and Cade Otton.
But we haven't mentioned the guy that makes it work. Well, first of all, whatever coaching situation they have there, it's worked. But Baker has fire. He has fire. He plays hard. He plays hurt. He's got passion. He comes to play every week. No, he's not perfect. But I'm going to tell you something. From what I've seen this guy grow from college to go to the Cleveland Browns, which is the worst possible place in the whole world to go, the way things have shaped up there.
And they made the playoffs with him.
Look, yes, this guy's a winner. Yeah. Baker is a winner. And I like that. I know a lot of people are going to tout Atlanta and all that. Prove it to me. Show me. Quit talking about it. Show me. Baker has shown me. Yeah. He does it. He gets it done. And like you pointed out, they've added some weapons. Tampa's going to win this division, barring injuries to somebody key. Maybe the offensive line falls apart or Baker gets hurt.
Yeah,
Tampa's going to win this division.
Yeah, everybody is going to. I think Atlanta's going to be a sexy pick because of Penix, because he looked good late last year. The problem is, all you have to do is just take a look at the depth chart page here for our lads. And all of the colors are new players. They're the ones that are either coming through free agency or the draft. There's no colors here in the first 2 of the Atlanta Falcons on the 2 deep. They didn't add anybody. And then on defense, which is really their biggest need, they did add 2 rookie edge rushers, and that's the problem. They're pass rush, but they're rookies. So there's still a lot. You don't know what you're getting out of them until they go out there and prove it. Do I think they're going to be better? Yes, but I do agree. Tampa Bay is the team to beat. It makes no sense to predict Atlanta in my mind, especially if you've predicted Tampa Bay like I have, and I'm sure others have over the last couple of years. And I do agree with Carolina. Matter of fact, a lot. I think Carolina had one of, if not the best offseason in the entire league. I love what Carolina did. They added the best receiver in the game. We saw what in college. We saw what happened to Bryce Young late in the season when he got back after this timeout. He looked like the first-round quarterback we were all waiting for. Chuba Hubbard developed into a bona fide starter. The offensive line is a very good line. It's one of the more underrated, solid lines in the NFL. And defensively, they made a great move by adding Bobby Brown at nose tackle, probably the best nose tackle on the market. Derek Brown, their best lineman, was out all year. He comes back. They added a really good star safety, and they added a few other guys, including Patrick Jones, to the pass rush. So I really, really like with the direction that Carolina is headed. And that NFC South is all of a sudden going to be very competitive with those top 3 teams, meaning New Orleans is in a lot of trouble.
Well, the retirement, I mean, you lose an experienced quarterback. Not that everybody loved him, but he was experienced. They're not going to be a factor in this division, in my opinion. No. It really comes down to those 3 teams that you mentioned. And, we still have to see whether this rather short quarterback for Carolina can produce when the chips are down, because he does not fit all the measurements that they look for in the talent pool for quarterbacks. So, but he did look better, and they did make additions. All the things that you said are very true, but it's just like Caleb up in Chicago. These guys have to show it at this level, and they haven't yet.
Well, Bryce showed it. We haven't, at least for half the season last season, we haven't seen anything yet from Caleb. And I think we will see an improvement from Caleb. But the Bears aren't looking for improvement. They're looking for a superstar.
We draft a lot of these guys coming out of college, and they're not, they like the draft class this year was very poorly thought of for quarterbacks. And now we're looking for somebody to go to Tennessee and be a star. Well, he wasn't a star, talent in college. And a lot of people said that a lot of quarterbacks shouldn't even been in the top 10, except that they're quarterbacks. So there's just poor drafts and good and bad, bad drafts, and good and bad. And so we have to see these guys develop before someone else comes along out of the college that's actually better.
Yeah, Cam Ward is the only quarterback that deserved to be a pick in the top 10. Was he the best prospect in the college game coming into the draft this year? No, but that's the quarterback game we play in the NFL. True. But at least Shedeur Sanders was drafted where he belonged, outside the first. And look, maybe he should have been drafted in the second or third, but hey, the Browns got a bargain in the fifth, and they have two rookies now at quarterback. And like I said, you could check out, you can check out the interview I did with Fred, but we're also going to post a video where I'm going to do that next couple of days of the segment where we just talked about the four quarterbacks, the five, including Watson, if you want to throw him in there, and exactly what Fred believes is going to happen to that quarterback room before the season begins.
I skirted by the Browns, because it's a bit of a mess, but they have a good coach. Their offensive line is decent. They're running.
There's talent there. Yes.
But they have the damn talent every year, and then the owner goes out and pays $250 million to a bonehead that did everything.
Well, that
wrong.
Story's over. Yeah, that's over.
Yeah, but it's affected the team. It's affected the city, and it's affected what they can do with other money that should be there for that. So it has an effect. Yeah, it's behind us, but the bottom line is, if they need a solid quarterback to run that team, you don't have to focus on always passing the ball, getting 400-yard games, because they have the running game and they have the defense to play. They should be better than they've been showing.
Oh, well, yeah.
There's no question about it. Instead of talking about Cincinnati, you should be talking about them, because they have other metrics that are actually better, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where last year Cincinnati fell apart.
Well, the difference between Cleveland and Cincinnati, and I was talking about this. I was talking about this with John Sheeran, who covers the Bengals. You can also find that interview right here on our channel. And the one thing that he agreed is that Cleveland is a more well-rounded, talented team than Cincinnati is. There's more talent on the Browns. The problem is the Bengals have 3 to 4 superstars.
Yes, they do.
The Browns have 1. And that was the only issue when you were thinking about what the Browns did with the trade to move back to acquire even more talent, but they decided against taking a superstar in Travis Hunter. So that's the only thing, because I agreed with a lot of people. I thought the Browns had a very good draft. You can't grade them otherwise. But I don't think that you cannot have that thought in your head about, well, maybe it would have been better just to take the superstar, because they really need superstar difference-making players. So, that's something to keep an eye on, because if Travis Hunter turns into like Deion Sanders or something and the next great player in the NFL.
And it's very likely he will.
Yeah. Then Browns fans aren't going to be very happy with that trade.
Well,
so
the Browns fans and the Cavaliers fans are in the same boat this morning. But imagine how good how much differently we'd be talking about the Browns if they had Joe Burrow.
Oh
my
course,
God.
yeah.
You'd be making them Super Bowl favorite.
Well, the whole idea too, and Fred talked about this, is Cleveland, because remember, they've got the extra first round pick in the Hunter trade. So chances are that pick's going to be a top 10 pick because it's Jacksonville. So unless Trevor Lawrence has a breakout and the Jags are better than people think, that's going to be a top 10 pick. That means you're going to have 2 picks in the first round. And they want to use that because the class of quarterbacks that come out next year is going to be better. And they're going to be able to use those picks to make sure they get a better quarterback than they could have gotten in this year's class. So I think it's a smart move.
Not to go off on a tangent, but I know if I ask you, you're the right guy to ask. Who are the best quarterbacks coming out next year? Where are they coming from?
Well, the 2 guys that stick out the most, you got the kid from LSU, Nussmeier, coach's kid. Actually, it's not coach's kid. His father was a quarterback, I believe, in the NFL. And the other one is the kid from Penn State, Drew Aller, who I like a lot. And I think if Drew can take another step like he took last year, which was a monumental step, he takes another step this year, he's probably going to be too good to even the Browns be able to get a hold of, unless the Browns give up like 4 first round picks, which they could do because it's the Browns. But yeah, those are the 2 quarterbacks that most people are looking at. So you'll be able to pay attention to LSU games and Penn State games.
We talked about this, and Joel Klatt had picked Penn State to be the national champions this year. And I mentioned that to you, and I don't follow it that closely, so I don't have an opinion, but I did mention that he did that.
Yeah, the only other guy, I don't even know if he's going to come out. That's why I wouldn't put him up there with the 2 that we just talked about. But the other guy that could come out if he has a really, really good year is Arch Manning. But we don't know anything about him. So, does
he sure has the name.
Yeah. So if he has like a great year and he leads Texas to the playoffs, he could come out too. So,
do you think about that? You have the dad, you have the 2 sons, and now you have this guy. You could have 4 Mannings and
generations. Yeah.
In the NFL. No one has ever done that.
Yep. All right. So in the West, I think a lot more people are starting to catch on with what's going on with the Rams.
I like the Rams. By the way, I didn't talk about that, but I like the Rams. I think you just have to keep Stafford healthy. I mean, he's a warrior. He's a warrior. He plays hard. Whether it was Georgia or Detroit, this guy he's a class act. I mean, he knows how to win. And you just have to keep him healthy. He's not young anymore. He's getting up there, so you got to keep him healthy.
They were this close from beating the Philadelphia Eagles.
You're damn right they were.
And the weather definitely could have helped, could have hurt, but hey, they came that close, and they were not even on par with Philadelphia, talent-wise. But now they're even better. They added Devontae Williams to that wide receiver room, so Cooper Kupp is gone. So that's definitely an upgrade because Kupp just wasn't healthy last year. And overall, you take a look. They did have. I mentioned the kid Brown, the nose tackle, who went to Carolina, but they did a good job of replacing him with Poona Ford, who had a really big year last year for the Chargers. So they did replace Brown with Poona Ford, and Snead, the general manager, always drafts well. He's tremendous at personnel. So yeah, the Rams are going to be very tough to beat. I do not really like I don't like the aura right now with the Niners.
They're slipping. There was a lot of negativity last year with teams. Players wanted to be traded, then they're back, and then the questions about Purdy, which I think Purdy's a solid guy. I don't think he's a Peyton Manning or a John Elway or somebody like that, but he's solid.
Yeah,
But yeah, I see them slipping, but I don't see anybody else in that division other than the Rams. Well, you could injury here or there. The Niners could slip right back in there. There's no question.
Actually, I like what Arizona did. I think Arizona had a really good offseason because if you look at it, Offensively, we know they're going to do fine. I mean, they're going to put points up. They've got the quarterback. They've got Marvin Harrison developing. I think they're going to be fine. But I think they really improved their team on defense. They added these 2 veterans here, wily old guys who are just still producing at a high level, late in their career. They added Walter Nolan, one of the best defensive tackles in the draft. So that was a great pickup. They used up a first-round pick last year on a lineman. They added Browning last year in a trade with Denver on the edge. They've got Josh Sweat from the Eagles in the offseason. So that's a big get for them. Yeah, and then they were able to grab this is the big one, because they were able to grab Will Johnson in round 2. Now, Will Johnson, if it wasn't for injuries that he's had over the last couple of years at Michigan, it would have been a top 5 pick, top 5, guaranteed. But he's had a few injuries that have scared off NFL clubs, and that's why he was available early in round 2. If the injuries are gone and it does nothing to do with his career, that is the steal of the draft. He will be a shutdown, lockdown, superstar corner for his entire career. And Arizona was able to get him in the 2nd round. So I like, and they added Birch as well from Oregon on the outside. So I think they did some really nice things. And don't forget, mid-season last season, they were in first place. They were the team that we thought for just a week that, Arizona, this is Arizona's year. And then they just slipped away and the Rams took over. So I think Arizona is definitely a team to watch. And the thing with Seattle is we just don't know if what we saw from Sam Darnold last year was about Justin Jefferson and Addison, and it was a 1-year thing. And what you saw at the end.
We also saw some terrible situations at the end of the season.
Yes, the playoffs was a disaster. So there's concern, no question. But I guess what they're looking at is they get a younger quarterback, and they're hoping that was the beginning of Sam Darnold's 2nd career, and really his 1st career. But it is interesting that they get the New York Jets 1st-round quarterback bust, who develops into a resurgent quarterback as a veteran. And now they've got Sam Darnold, the same thing, a former New York Jet 1st-round bust who is hoping to have a renaissance later in his career. So, but look, they added Jalen Milroe from Alabama in the draft, which was nice because that's insurance for Sam Darnold.
I think he has potential, by the way. I kind of like him.
And then Drew Lock is a good backup quarterback.
Yes, he is.
So I think that room is a lot better, a lot deeper, again, younger. It's tough to say whether or not I take Geno over Sam at this point in their careers, but hey, he is younger.
Well, Geno's he's been around 10 years. He had one really good year a couple of years ago, but it hasn't been consistently good. So we don't know. And I like Pete Carroll, but you talk about Raiders and all that. I've always liked him, but he's an old school guy.
Yep.
In a new school league. And you to win in this league, you need some end rushers, you need a good defense, and you need to be able to run the goddamn ball, which it comes back into vogue now. People are seeing you need in offensive line. It's not all just about the quarterback. You need to protect the quarterback. If you put a great quarterback back there and he's always getting killed, that ain't helping anybody. So you look what Philadelphia did. That offensive line they had, the defensive line, they murdered Kansas City every which way but loose. And that's a key. That's why they're going to be so tough to beat.
Yeah, Seattle, again, keep in mind when he had the breakout year a couple of years ago, Pete was there. And when Pete was there, they also had much better success. And this goes more towards the Raiders of running the ball. And now they go out and they draft Ashton Genty. So they get, the prize running back of the draft of Raiders. And of course they get Geno. So that should make Geno better, that he can rely now a little bit more on the running game. As far as Seattle, they did not like what happened last year when Geno had an off year, and they blamed it, deservedly so, on the offensive coordinator who they hired from college, who just threw the ball way too much. He neglected the running game. So he's gone, and he brought in a new coach and a couple of other coaches that are more designed to run the football. So they're going to run the ball more in Seattle this year. And so keep an eye on that, which will help Sam Darnold out. Okay. So overall, that's what we think about the NFL. It's May. And the only thing is, you have to keep in mind when you take a look at free agency, there are no free agents available right now that anybody is just like, oh, I just wish I could get that guy. They're not out there. They're gone. There's the only players that are still available. There's like about 3 edge rushers that are around 32, 33 years old that are waiting as long as they can to latch on to a championship caliber team. That's it. That's all that's out there. You get like maybe a safety here, a corner there, but that's it. So that's why, yeah, I think if anybody wants to make serious predictions right now, they can do it, because what you see is what you get outside of the injuries that are going to take place between now and before the season begins.
Yeah, it's really too early. No question.
Okay, now a couple more things before we drop. Matter of fact, since we were talking about the NFL, and we will be talking some college football too next week, along with the NBA and maybe some baseball. But here are the latest Super Bowl odds with the Eagles and the Bills, pretty much the same there. The Ravens and the Chiefs. So those are the top 4 teams right now. And the odds are actually not bad. So, if you really like one of these teams, you better take them now, because the odds are not going to get any better than this. If you like the Eagles or the Bills, or even the Chiefs and maybe the Ravens, those odds are going to drop. If you're a futures player and you're crazy enough to put money on the futures at this point in the season, a quarterback can get hurt during the training camp.
May not even make the regular season.
Yeah.
Right?
So the only time I'd ever do futures at this point of the season is to go down here, is to see if you can find some nice shots.
I mean, since we talk about them all the time, Joe Burrow, if you put some money on him, and he's one of the best quarterbacks, and they got all the weapons.
Yeah.
They got to answer the defense. They can't give up all the points they gave up last year.
Yeah, they got a new coach. So they got the Notre Dame defensive coordinators there. So we'll see what that does. But as Andy indicated, and as I talked with John Sheeran about, they have to settle with Trey Hendrickson. He's their edge rusher extraordinaire. He's going to play this year. There's no doubt about it. It's just a matter of, are they going to come to an agreement on a long-term deal? That's just the question. So, but he'll be on the team. And they'll be a better defensive team. There's no question about that, because they also had injuries that played into the whole bad year. And they do have some better players now that they added to the defense. But yeah, I mean, looking at some value, you got the Bengals at 20, the Rams at 22, Denver 25, Tampa Bay 28, the Chargers at 28. And I don't know if I'd go down here. I don't think I would. I don't think any of these teams are Super Bowl teams. So Saints are last at 300 to 1.
Well, the Browns are a Super Bowl team if you can figure out who's going to play quarterback. They have all the talent in the world.
250 to 1. But if they find a quarterback, so that's for sure. Okay, before I let you go, 2 quick things. WNBA, you're going to have your WNBA season premiere tomorrow, I believe, Jim.
So we're going to start out with the odds to win it all. We'll talk about that. We're going to put together the over and under win totals on each team. Obviously, Liberty won it last year. They're favored again. Indiana has moved up a lot because they made a lot of additions, including their coach. And, of course, they got Caitlin, who's going to bring in 19,000 fans to every game. And she's great. So they're third, I think, right now. The Minnesota Lynx, they're tough. They're probably fourth. I'm not even sure who the hell's second, but at this point.
Well, here are the odds. Here are the championship odds. So a big difference between the top 4.
You got the aces in there, right?
And then the bottom 8, 9. Yeah, look at the.
They're in this league. It's really you're not going to. The Phoenix isn't going to be viable, I don't believe. The
There's
top
no
four-
bargains here. None of these teams
No,
are bargains.
I don't believe so. No.
Wow, that's pretty bad.
Oh, they're on a day-to-day basis. They can cover point spreads.
Oh yeah, but
But
championship-wise,
championship-wise, it's the top
it's
four.
the top four.
It is.
That's a shame. Well, it's early in the
The league is growing and they're maturing, and right now it's 4 teams.
Okay. So you'll talk more about that on tomorrow's show with Andy. And just a quick note, we had our golf preview show on Monday. Jared and I, my old golf full-time analyst, came by. So we gave our picks for the PGA Championship, and that's what we'll close with. So let me go ahead and pop up just a 1-minute clip, I believe. It goes over who we went with, and that starts tomorrow right here in North Carolina. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a nice golf course. I'm going to have to make sure I've got the sound in there. So I'm looking forward to it. The problem is that it's kind of looking like it's going to be, there's too many really good players that are peaking. You know, the Scotty Scheffler's coming off a dramatic, unbelievable -31 under par win. That's a terrible golf course. Rory McIlroy, of course, is playing incredible. Justin Thomas now is hot again. He's coming off a win, and
he's starting to play better for sure.
And he's playing better. So you've got like a lot of players that are just peaking, and most of them are the better players. So it's going to be hard to pick long shots. Now, I decided
it's hard to take long shots to win, but you can play a lot of the teams, a lot of the players that you like to finish in the top 10 or top 20. And that's more advisable. You can also play player against player. So like Shetler against DeChambeau or something. And the matchups like that, you can do that in horse racing too. So that's a more advisable way to bet golf, because it's really hard when you have 20 guys that can win it. How the hell do you pick out who's going to win it? You got to bet 10 of them at $5 a piece or something. I mean, it's really hard when you get all of these players. It's hard to do that.
So each week, what we try to do is we try to put together like a model based on what the course fit is for specific players, what they're best at. As you can see here, the stats this week, strokes gained approach, ball striking, long iron game is going to be important. If you're good between 175 and 2 and up. So that's what we do each week. And then we put it all into a model, and the model spits out the rankings of how those players project based on those models we create. And so you use that to make your predictions. And also we take a look at the most similar courses to each golf course. So we're always going to let you guys know each week what those courses are. And then we have our picks here. So again, this is just a minute and a half. Let's see what we say here. Not only are here our picks, but these are the similar courses, and one of them, Doral, and Live, of course. Now I have the last 4 years here, but in actuality, I believe the first 2 years was like team. They did some team stuff there, so it's really the last couple of years that. Matter of fact, obviously they just played this year. So if you want to check that out, you can. We'll have some stats on that we'll throw in there. So that again could be an edge there, obviously, because only the live golfers are playing on Doral. What's interesting is this one being a correlated course, Valhalla.
Yep.
And yet, like you said, there's no way that we're going to expect anything close to 20 under par at the PGA Championship this week.
I definitely see the similarity between the two courses. I think Valhalla is a tougher version of Valhalla.
And then these other two courses, Greenbrier, by the way, on Live, I think the last 2 years they've had Live, and they're not playing this year at Live. So there are a couple of Live advantages there, and none of the top golfers play at Punta Cana. So in reality, there's not a lot to go on as far as the similar courses. So keep that in mind. Also making things just a little bit difficult to handicap. especially throwing in, the crazy stuff with the putting surface that you just talked about. And you want to take a look at what that is, because when you take a look at the greens, and that's another way that you want to rank each player, how are they putting on Bermuda greens, bentgrass greens, POA greens. So you take a look and you say, okay, here it's Bermuda greens at this golf course. So you go, all right, who's the best Bermuda green putters over the last 24 months, 12, whatever. So that what's happened though, and what Jared brought into the show was it because it's so early in the season, usually this event is played later in the year on this golf course, that the greens haven't really turned over the way that they're described more like Bermuda. So he thinks they're going to play more like POA greens. So it just goes another monkey in the wrench when you're trying to figure things out. And it looks like Jim's dog is trying to give us an indication.
Bet the dogs. Bet the dogs.
Oh, bet the dogs. Okay. With the fact that is it time to eat, Jim? Are those what those eyes are for?
It's not time to eat.
Oh, okay. He just wanted to visit with those eyes.
This guy's name is Zane.
Zane. How old is Zane?
9.
Wow. He looks good for 9.
Yes, he does. He's getting a little gray, just like all of us, but he's 9 years old. He's a good
How long
boy.
does he? What's the life expected span?
Well, I'm hoping for 10 or 11, 12, maybe.
Really?
I hope.
Wow.
That's the biggest problem with dogs, the short lifespan. But we're hoping for 11 or 12.
He's in good health?
So far, knock on
Good.
wood.
Yeah, that's nice. Don't run into any scorpions.
Oh, yeah, we have a problem with that out here, but
Yeah.
these are bigger dogs, so the scorpion venom doesn't affect them that much, because this guy's 55 pounds, and and the other one, his brother, is 85 pounds. So
How old is his brother?
4.
Oh, okay. Is that his blood brother or his just?
No, they're just
okay.
Because this guy's former family passed away. But
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
what had happened, with these, he's 9, brother 4, and then we have a 14-year-old also. So you go through it.
How long has he been under your roof?
From he was a baby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. He likes being on TV. He just said that.
He looks perfectly content sitting there.
He's very photogenic. Yep.
He does. He's got the same eyes as like one of my cats. They've got those like eyes where if you take a picture, it's like you want to put them on a milk carton or something. Those eyes, like you would think that they need like some assistance or something like that. They've got those really sorrowful, sweet eyes.
Yep. They're good guys. Best friends.
Oh yeah. Like you said, it's just too short, unfortunately.
Yep.
And then when you go through a list of like all of the different animals that you had when you were from a kid to an old man.
Well, yeah. When if you live 80 years old, you've gone through 7 or 8 families of animals. I mean,
Yes.
Cats live longer than dogs, but dogs you're looking at 10. I had a couple dogs make it 14, 15. I had one friend of mine had a dog, medium-sized dog, 30 pounds roughly, lived to 26.
What?
Yes, it was crazy. He just kept going.
26.
26.
That's like impossible.
I know. I don't know what the world record is for a 30-pound dog, but that might be close.
Wow. And what kind of dog was it?
I don't even know the breed. It was a mixed breed, but he weighed about 35 pounds, and he lived 26 years.
Jeez.
I know.
That's amazing.
I'd never heard of anything like that before. I've seen 18-year-old dogs.
Yeah.
Nothing 20. I'd never seen a 26.
That's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
good for them.
The final years are tough. I mean, they have every
yeah.
ailment in the book, but it's like people.
And then the longer you have them, the harder it is.
Well, yeah, it's like Yeah,
It's an
a family.
attachment.
It's a well, there's no question about it. They're family members. I mean, who hangs around with me all day? You know,
Yeah.
my dogs.
Yeah, that's why
every dog lover out there knows exactly what the hell we're talking about. So,
and the animals, and the thing is too, is they're very lucky, the ones that have people who either, if they're younger or even if they're older, and they work from home because they get to be around them all the time.
That's right.
Where a lot of times, you know, you own pets and you go to work and then they're half the day they're by themselves.
That's right. Yeah.
So a lot of dogs and cats, they can be very fortunate if they land with an owner that, like that. That's the situation with us. That's the situation with me. I mean, I'm here all the time. So it's a lot different than being alone. So,
well, that's why I've always had 2 or more dogs at the same time, so they have companionship.
Yeah, it's necessary.
It cuts down a lot on the separation anxiety
and the needy. Yes,
yeah. They have each other. So
yes, that's important.
It works out a little bit better.
All right. So again, coming up later this week, we've got a WNBA, we've got NBA playoffs, we got Major League Baseball. We have, of course, the Preakness Stakes live show tonight. We've already posted today our F1 coverage. We posted the college football transfer portal interview I did with our portal expert from Rivals. That's available on the channel. And wall-to-wall NFL and coming soon college football interviews. So we just started with Cleveland and Cincinnati. I'm going to be interviewing Baltimore tomorrow, Pittsburgh on Friday, and Detroit on Monday, Atlanta on Tuesday. So I'm just going to keep spitting them out because we just had a draft and we just had an off season. So I know a lot of the fans want to kind of get one more look at how their teams did in the off season before the slowest time of year for football starts, which is kind of about now.
Let's just close the show here. There is a big basketball game tonight. The Knicks look to close out.
What's the line in the game?
The Celtics are 4.5 or 5. They're at home.
Really? Even without Tatum?
Well, you're talking about the deepest team in basketball and the former champions. And if Tatum was in the game would be 10.
So what do you think about the game of the Knicks? Where's the game?
In Boston.
Okay, so
what I think about this is there's obviously different ways to look at the game. There's always different ways to look at any game, but Boston is a very, very deep team. Number one, they have players that can replace Tatum. Pritchard is one. Brown can step up. He's always on the court. They have a lot of players, and they are the ex-champions. They lost the first 2 games at home. They won one in New York, and then the Knicks came back. And the Knicks have been down in all 4 games they've been down. They came back in 3 of the games and won them. We saw kind of the same thing with some of the other. It's like the teams that are down at halftime all come back and win. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's the inconsistency of the 3-point shot. But you guys like Pritchard and Brown are going to step up tonight and get more shots and score more points. So that's proposition bets that you could make. But what I see here is no one has a floor leader like Jalen Brunson. I don't know how the Dallas Mavericks got rid of Brunson and Luka Doncic. I don't know what brain surgeon down there got rid of those 2 guys. That's just ridiculous.
Well, because they knew they were getting Cooper Flag.
They didn't know it at the time when they did it. Yeah,
You sure about that?
Well, yeah. No, I'm not sure about anything. But the point is, I think you might see some regression and maybe a little letdown from the Knicks because of what they accomplished so much. That's possible. And you're going to see the bounce off of losing a superstar player and the pride of a champion with the Celtics. So I would say that probably looking at the game, I gave you a couple props if you're listening, and you might look at the Celtics to win the first quarter and first half. And then it's going to come down to what happens, attrition and tiredness and stuff like you're seeing with the Nuggets now. They win all the first 3 quarters in most of these games, but in the fourth quarter, they have nothing left because they played more minutes in the playoffs than any other team. So because they went 7 against the Clippers and it's killed them. So they're older, and the other team is faster and deeper. So when you put that all together, I expect the Celtics to win this game, and I expect those props to come through. The problem with the Knicks are they are tough. They're not as talented man for man, but they are tough, and you cannot stop Brunson. He is a monster. What a great basketball player he is. And he can take over, and you can't stop him. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he sure knows how to play.
All right. So there is 3 more series left, right?
Well, you're going to have probably the Wolves are going to go up against what am I losing?
Golden State.
No, they're playing them. They're playing. That's another game that's being played, but the Wolves are 11.5-point favorite in that game tonight. And they will go up against the winner of OKC Denver. If I expect the Wolves to win that series because there's no Steph Curry.
So they can clinch tonight?
Pardon?
They can clinch?
Oh, yeah. They can.
Okay. So they're an 11.5-point favorite to clinch the series.
Yes. So then the other side, you're going to have most likely, since the Knicks are up 3-1 and no Tatum, you're going to probably see the Knicks win this in New York and Madison Square Garden in Game 6, and they will go up against the Pacers. So that's the Pacers against the Knicks. That's the most likely scenario at this moment, and it's going to be the Wolves against OKC, most likely.
And who's the best team right now in your mind?
Well, I think you got to go back to OKC because they had the most wins all season, but they're going to run up against some tough competition. I don't think the Wolves are tough enough to beat them.
How about Pacers?
The Pacers are enigma because Cleveland played like dog shit. Excuse my French in that series, and there's something wrong there that really bothers me with the Cavaliers. I mean, they had 3 guys sit out in Game 2. The 3 guys that sat out in Game 2 didn't play a minute. They come back in Game 3 and all play, and a lot of minutes. So now I'm saying to myself, if you could play 2 days later, all those minutes, 35, 40 minutes, why couldn't you play 3, 4, 5 minutes in Game 2 and help your teammates win the game, who had a 17-point lead in the second half and lost the game on a last-second shot? So there's something wrong. My grandfather used to say, there's a rat in the woodpile. I don't know what it is. Is it chemistry? Are there attitudes? Are there cliques on the team? Is there some kind of infighting? I don't know.
Well, we'll find out soon enough.
I don't like what happened. Something happened and it wasn't good. And it's more than just basketball because they're too young to be that fatigued. They're not an old team.
Maybe they need to see some videos of how when Michael Jordan came back from his injury.
How about there's guys like Kurt Gibson comes off the bench for the Dodgers, or Willis Reed comes out of the locker room to play for the. I mean, I really have a lack of care. There was a lack of character there, but really
that's why they lost.
Yes, yes, exactly. So there's something there, and maybe it'll come out over time, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well.
But I think that the Pacers and the Knicks would be a hell of a series. I like the Pacers. They have more talent. They're deeper, but nobody has a 4 leader like Brunson, and that may be the key. You cannot stop that man. He is Mr. Clutch, and he deserved the award that he got as Mr. Clutch. He is brutal, and I don't know that the Pacers can overcome that. And it's not that the Knicks don't have other talent, because they do. But that might be, you may end up seeing the Knicks as the champion.
Okay. I don't know about that, but
I'm telling you, these guys they're not as talented, and you're going to go up against a deeper team with the Pacers. And then if you end up playing OKC, it's another deeper team. OKC's talent-wise, top to bottom, is the best team. They're the best team. However, that doesn't always work. If Denver wasn't so fatigued in the fourth quarter, they would be beating and winning this series.
Well, it sounds to me like there aren't any clear NBA juggernauts this season.
Well, the top 3 teams all year were the Celtics, the defending champs, the Cavaliers, who were the second most wins in the league, and the OKC with the most wins in the league. And 2 of them are practically gone. One's gone. The other one might be gone in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
And so the bottom line is we play preseason football and the games mean nothing. They play 82 games in NBA, and most of them mean nothing.
Well, they mean nothing now. And in the past, they used to mean something.
Well,
now they don't mean anything anymore.
Ancient history, yes. But now that they have so many teams in the playoffs, all you got to do is finish in the top 7 or 8, 10 actually, and you get 20 teams out of the 32 in the damn playoffs. That's just too many.
Well, plus the fact that, again, they're psychologically, they now know that it means nothing. So they act like it. They do all the game management shit.
Yeah,
because they don't care.
The load management. They get paid a lot of money to take load management. They go to take a day off today. Or I got an ingrown toenail, so I'm going to take a day off.
So it just doesn't matter as much. And then that's the difference. In the old days, it used to be, it matters because that's how you build your team to be great, is you've got to do it consistently over and over and over again. And that's why the great teams during the regular season in the NBA used to always win and be in the championship round.
Exactly.
One versus 1 seed, 1 versus 2 seed. Nowadays it looks like that's just not the case. Which again, I think for fans' sake and maybe even for gambling, that's a good thing. Because if you do your homework right, you can find good dogs, good upsets. In the past, there were no upsets. At least there's more opportunity for upsets now.
I think Tony Robbins said this. Yeah, I follow him. I've been to a couple of his conferences, their meetings and stuff. Unbelievable motivator. He says that easy times make soft people. Soft people make tough times. Tough times make tough people. And it goes in a cycle. Right now, in these sports, easy times, they pay them a lot of money, and then they can take load management, and they out of the 82 games, they might play 60. So then when you get into this, they're not physically or mentally conditioned to play their asses off every other day in a playoff because they don't do it all season. It's like when I used to run a lot of marathons, I was running 6 days a week. 2 days a week, I was doing 18 miles because a marathon's 26 miles. And most of the other days, I was doing between 6 and 10 miles. So if you don't condition yourself to be tough when you need to be tough, you're going to be soft. And I think that's what you see. That's why there's I think 44 out of 60 some games, the team that's behind at half has actually won the game.
That's crazy.
What does that tell you?
That tells you that teams aren't really, it's like they're biding their time until they're ready to actually play. Anyway, like I said, that's good. Maybe there's some good long shots because the Knicks are still considered a long shot, aren't they? Considering, even though there are only a certain amount of teams left.
They're definitely a long shot because top to bottom, they don't have the talent. But when you have a Florida leader like Brunson, he's tough to beat, especially when you get down late, last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. He takes over, and you just cannot stop him.
Well, that's what you need, especially nowadays. No question about it.
That's what makes them championship potential material, is that one guy. There's other great players on the team. All these NBA players are great, but he is a special one.
And he won a championship with Villanova, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. At one point, 2 years ago, I think they had like 4 Villanova players on the Knicks. They traded away DiVincenzo. He's I think playing with the Wolves now. But yeah, they had 4 Villanova players on. I think they still have 3 players on the team from Villanova.
So they're doing like the Eagles and Georgia strategy.
Sort of, yeah.
So right now, actually, the Knicks are considered the second choice. They're actually ahead of the Pacers.
They're tied with the Pacers, and they're going to probably those two teams are probably going to meet for the NBA East Championship. Pacers and Knicks. That's most likely what's going to happen.
Well, the Knicks are they're right now the second choice overall, so they're not really. I guess nobody's sleeping on them anymore.
No, and then look at the difference between the Thunder's price and the Timberwolves price when those two teams meet, and that's most likely. But the Thunder, yeah, those two teams are going to most likely meet each other.
Well, these two are pretty much tied. This is a big disparity. Should this be a big disparity?
Yeah, because the Thunder are that much better.
Yes. Oh, they are. So OKC should wind up as the West.
Of all the teams in the NBA, the Thunder had the most victories in the regular season.
Well, yeah, but are they proving that?
And they're the deepest team.
Okay, so
they're very difficult.
But
they wouldn't. But I'm going to tell you something. If the Nuggets hadn't played a 7-game series against the Clippers, they actually might be beating the Thunder in this their series.
And it's 3-2.
3-2 Thunder, right.
Wow. And when's that game? 6? Tomorrow?
I think it's tomorrow, yeah.
Where is it?
It's going to be in Denver.
And what's the spread?
I have not looked at the number, but it's probably the Thunder is going to be probably 3 or 4. I did not look at the line for that game yet.
4.5.
There it is. That's close. Yeah.
So you think
the Nuggets can beat them. I just don't know if they can win 4 quarters against them because they've been physically exhausted in the fourth quarter, and that's where they're losing all the games. Well, I don't know how they overcome that.
I don't know if they're getting are they getting any sort of a schedule break where they have like like an extra day rest?
No, matter of fact, they got screwed because in the previous game, not this last one, but the previous one, they played on Friday night and then they played on Sunday morning. They didn't get 2 full days off.
Okay.
I mean,
that's unusual.
Well, the NBA screwed them because it helped the Thunder because they're so much younger, but it hurt the Nuggets because they're so much older. So, and it didn't work out very well for the Thunder, even though they were ahead the whole damn game. They lost the fourth quarter just like they did in the previous game. The previous game, they were up 7 with 3 minutes to go, and they were down 7 with 1 minute to go. It just shows you how their legs get tired. The shots are short. They're missing all the free throws. I mean, it's a disaster. It's all fatigue.
And they have a star player.
Oh, well, Jokic is one of the top 2 or 3 players in the league for sure.
No, that's surprising then that he's not able to see. I guess he's tired too.
Yeah, because he's not young.
Well, there you go.
I mean, the youngest 2 teams are the Thunder and the Pacers. They're the youngest 2 teams.
Well, you're just not feeling it with Denver being able to.
If it was a 3-quarter game, I'd be betting Denver. Yeah, I'll bet them in the early part of the game. But if you're talking 4 quarters, I don't know how the hell they're going to do it. They run out of players.
Well,
they're not deep. They're not deep, and they're old. So,
well, that's a problem.
Then
they really there's nothing you could do about that.
You just bet them in the first 3 quarters. You bet first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and they're going to win all 3 quarters or 2 of them. So you're ahead money. The fourth quarter, you just bet the other team.
Yeah, because you're looking at it, and even if they do win, they're going to come right back on Sunday afternoon.
Right.
Because they play tomorrow. See, that's real. I remember like for the longest time when I was following the NBA, when it was normal, they used to have like these long schedules where you'd play one day and it'd be like 4 days before you play game 2, and they stretched it out forever. Now it doesn't look like they're doing that anymore. Now it's like, you play one day, you play 2 days, and 2 days, and 2 days.
They jam them together now. Yeah.
I guess because of all the teams they have in the postseason, they have to.
Well, that and the interest is very high from the public. I mean, they're getting a lot of interest in these games, and so they
Wow.
want to keep it going.
Well, I don't know.
The problem is they're killing the players, and the players aren't in condition to do it because they don't do it through the whole season. There's no load management in the playoffs.
Did they have a break at all this season during the season? Like, did they have any sort of
I think there's an all-star break.
that's all they had this year was an all-star break?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because hockey had that international kind of deal, which was very popular, but it was nuts because they took like 10 days off or something. And then when they came back, it's like your team played and then they would have a day off and then they go game. So you were playing like 3 games in 4 nights and it was terrible. I mean, they just slammed the games together.
It's all about money. It's all about greed. They push, and if they feel they're going to make more money, they're going to have you play 3 games in a day.
I think the NHL should start their season like in September because they start it so later, and it's like it's just too weird for hockey to have like the Stanley Cup playoffs in June or July, whatever it is. It's like it's a hockey. You're having the Stanley Cup playoffs in the dead of the summer. It just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Basketball, I'm okay with. That makes more sense to have basketball in this time of year. But yeah, it is what it is. All right. So anyway, we are going.
I've got to get going, but
yeah, we've got a lot to do here on the channel. So make sure to subscribe, like, and share. And we will be back again next week, right here on the Playbook Against the Spread podcast, talking about college football. And again, everything else we just talked about, little NFL, WNBA, NBA, Major League Baseball. John, Jim, appreciate your time as always. Say hello to John for me, whoever that is. And thanks to Andy, of course, for checking in with us as always. And peace out.
Take care.